Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Character. This show is going to be pretty specifically for role players, by role players, if I can say that. We're going to be having different guests on the show, like role players, modders, Faceless Frank, what's up? And even like server owners. I'm hoping to get different server owners from different communities to hop in here and have some chats. And we're just gonna be chilling and getting to know the RP community, which, hi lady, which we have a lot of friends in, if I can English properly. I haven't even started drinking that much. My guest for today, as you can see up there, is Nixie the Dragon.
Hello.
Hi, Nixie.
I am here. I also have a drink.
You have an alcoholic beverage. The drinking choice for today is Blue Moon. Because why not? We're not sponsored by Blue Moon.
I have a hard black cherry Mike's lemonade.
Ooh.
Super exciting.
Nice. So Nixie and I met, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. I believe at the time I was in Winterfell. I was playing a character called Nine. One of the weirdest, dumbest characters I've ever played.
I liked Nine.
He was socially awkward.
He was stupid, but I loved him so much.
Socially awkward. And he met Jaden Grey. That was her name, right?
Yes, Jaden Grey, and I kept getting mistaken for the other Jaden.
Yeah, which was like the Lord or King of Casterly Rock,
It was
right?
Circa.
And Jaden would not shut up.
She was like full-blown pacifist who would talk about it constantly, like, and just never cease saying things.
She was great though, and I think that's kind of what caught Nine's interest. And it wasn't like he wasn't like a romantic type of person, or like even like sexually interested in anyone. Had no idea about like any of that shit. Kind of grew up a slave, right? But something about her was like, this woman is odd.
You can say odd, yeah.
she is odd. She talks really fast. And
It's a problem I have with all of my characters. I cannot speak slow ever.
But it was enjoyable. Then I brought William Went in, and I actually played with Doom also. And he was my cousin. And so then Doom and I played, and then here comes Nixie again. And I was like, well, she stood me up once. Let's give this another shot.
Between seasons, you took Night away.
No, I mean like with Jaden, yeah. The season changed. Then, I didn't roll it back in with 9.
You didn't roll back with you. No. You became 9, or you became William.
William Went.
And then we started hanging out again.
I played William Went with like an extreme fear of heights, and that's kind of related to myself IRL.
You have an extreme fear of height?
I'm not good with heights at all.
I only have one problem with heights, and it's really dumb.
What?
I'm always worried if you look over the edge that my glasses are going to fall off. It's the only thing I care. I don't care about the height. I'm afraid of losing my glasses and not being able to see.
I get that. I mean, I always wore contacts before getting LASIK. So now it's not really a problem anymore, but I used to have that problem as well.
Yeah, it's just the worst. Like, you look down and you're like, start holding your glasses, even though they're secure on your face. You're like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, just like an irrational fear. You need to get one of those like rope thingies that like old people have.
Your head, yeah. Anyway, so that's how we first met.
And
then we went to Conan.
And so then a long time after, we started playing Conan.
4 years, yeah.
Like 4 years later.
And I decided to bring in a character that we just kind of decided knew each other from a while ago, so I could have a reason to join his group.
Right, and I think the funny thing was that I previously tried to get you to play Conan, and you were like, "Fuck no."
First season.
The first season of the same server. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Time of Origins. I'm sure that some of you know Time of Origins. But when I first started playing on Time of Origins season 1, I was so into it. And hi, Stormy. I was so into it, and I was so hyped about it. It was so different to have like admin-led stories. Nixie wasn't interested in playing Conan, and I was having such a good time because from where we came from, which was Ark, admin-led stories like a DM sort of thing wasn't a thing. It was like free for all. It was like everybody on their own. And while that is kind of refreshing to do at times, it was so cool to have an admin team that was playing out a story. And I was like, Nixie, you have to do this. And she was like, no, I'm not interested in
join the server I ran that did basically what TOO did,
right,
but a little differently, which was admin run stories.
That was on Ark, right?
Yes, I was. I was the owner of Camelot RP, or Camelot Reborn, I think is what it was called. It was a while ago. It was like 2 years ago or something like that. Which was, it was an Ark server that I put together, and it went for 4 seasons before it all kind of went to shit. Like Ark servers tend to
like
do.
they tend to do, yeah. You just kind of have to like refresh every now and then. Ark and I have like a love-hate relationship, like I'm assuming almost everyone does. It's you know, where I started role-playing. And there's always going to be a special place in my heart, and every now and then I go back to like Game of Thrones or something like that, but also every now and then I uninstall it.
Oh, it's uninstalled for me right now.
Because I'm just like, I'm done with it.
You got me into Conan, and now I'm stuck. Like, I've been jumping servers on Conan for a while now.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that like I've tried to get other people into Conan, and I'm like, but I understand that there's some people that are just not gonna enjoy it. Like it's gonna be different, but I know the people that will. Sometimes Ark is a struggle even for you, yeah. And if like that's saying something, like you're a modder lady, and you've also been there for a long time, doing like WRP and stuff, and also obsessed with breeding in game, not.
Breeding. That's something I don't miss with Conan, is the people who are stuck in their breeding barns constantly.
Listen, lady and I used to have to like pull her out of her barn, like let's go RP, let's do stuff.
Let's go, please.
And even then, you know, she was obsessed. But way back in SKRP when I started with Circa, I actually started as a character that was like taming and breeding shoulder pets. So I kind of had like a pet shop. And
what season were you in SKRP?
Oh, fuck, I don't remember.
Because I was there like I was the first season I played SKRP. I actually joined Cletus's tavern in the main in King's Landing.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking over for him after he got sentenced to the wall for trying to kill the king.
So here's the thing. I also had no idea about Game of Thrones back then. Fucking no clue. So most of the terms that I was hearing, like names, kingdoms, whatever, they would like go over my head. Like I
knew way too much. I
was just obsessed with watching Josh. Like that was like my obsession, was watching him roleplay. I signed up and I started playing with him. The first day that I get to the Riverlands, and we, you know, he has this this place there. I get locked in his keep for 4 hours.
Oh no!
Because I go in there. They're like introducing me. They're showing me around, and I think I don't know. I think I had to, like log out for a moment, thinking I'd be able to come back and get out. No.
Of course
they
not.
all
No,
left
it's not hard.
to like this talent show. So I got to watch Josh's talent show, or like the server's talent show from Josh's stream, while I was locked in their keep. Yeah. And it was hilarious. That was my first experience with Circa.
I have to ask the important question that I ask a lot of people is, what made you start role playing? Like, what brought you to?
It was Circa.
hobby?
It was definitely Circa.
It was Circa. Okay.
So I don't know if you know the YouTuber Zul'jin. He used to play. I used to watch videos of his on YouTube, and then he signed up for SKRP along with Drax. They were good friends. They were both YouTubers, and I used to watch their videos, and then they started streaming. So I used to go to their streams, and then they ran into this guy named Peter Rivers in game, which was Circa's first character. And every single time this guy was on screen, I would fucking die laughing. Like, he was so extra, as you know Circa to be. He was so confrontational, as you know Circa to be. And such a dick and hilarious. There was a time that he was talking to somebody, and I think they were really mad at him, and I think that they were trying to start a fight or whatever. And the guy was like, I don't even know who it was. I am like thinking back on it, I think it was the Veil, but who knows?
Oh, probably.
They go back.
Therapy.
Yeah. And they go back, and they're like, you can't call her that. She's a lady. And he's like, Josh says, cunt is what I want to call her, but I'm not. And ever since then, I was like, oh my god, I like died laughing. I'm like, I gotta sign up, and I signed up. I meta'd my way to his kingdom.
Of course.
Not kingdom, just his group. And then I met, Too High Marnie, which is kind of like a well-known modder now in the art community.
I know Marnie.
And that was it. And then I was addicted to role playing, and then I've just kind of followed Circa around like a lost puppy dog, and we've been good friends for about 5 years now.
Dang.
And yeah,
You've only been role playing for 5 years.
I have only been role playing for about 5
I feel
years.
so old.
Yeah.
I did the math. I realized that I started role playing 18 years ago.
Yeah, so we talked about that a bit, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so it was 18 years ago, but technically 11 years since I started voice role play.
Right.
So still a long ass time ago. But I started way back on Reign of Kings because I believe it was Strippin was playing on a Reign of Kings server. Also, hi Fluff, I love you. But it was Strippin playing on a server as this Witch in the Woods character, and I thought it was hilarious because my little brother showed it to me, and I was like, I can do that. Like, that's something. I'm a theater kid. I like role play already. So I was like, before that, I did forum role play, and then I did GTA San Andreas roleplay.
What?
Not 5 San Andreas.
I didn't even know that game was like an online game.
Okay, so it was a multiplayer mod you could get for San Andreas.
Okay.
That did not have voice at all. It was only text chat. So you could only type in chat and talk to people that way, but they had customizable avatars and everything, so you could run around the world. And I am not gonna lie, to date, best roleplay I've had.
Really?
GTA San Andreas. I still have logs from a time that happened to my character because I became nowadays if I do voice roleplay, I can't do criminals. Like, I get so anxious about talking in a mean way to people.
Really?
But in text it was fine. I didn't give a shit.
I feel like you'd be fine.
Well, I've done it before. When I had my server.
She's too cutesy to be mean. I don't know. She was pretty mean to me a couple times.
I don't know what you're talking about. When I had my roleplay server, I was the villain on that server, so I can do it, but I don't like to. But when I did it in text, I was the best gun dealer on the server. And, you know, it is really
as you can see by the chat, Fluffkin is like naturally a dick.
I mean, so am I, so. We've had some characters that have some like crazy back and forth, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like once we get going and we figure out our characters, it can be ridiculous.
Yeah, like William Went was a bit more give and take. And then I started playing, you know, like the more broody characters.
Fucking Valen.
As Valen, and oh boy,
Valen, man.
Boy, our RP is Valen and Nayla.
So I come onto the server because he's like, hey, come join me on Conan. And I'm like, I'm desperate need for roleplay. So I decided, okay, sure, why not? And I brought in a character that I'd played on Ark previously and decided to just kind of continue her story. So I had a bit of story to play off of. And I met Valen. I don't know what I expected when I met Valen, but you let me join your town, which was great because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
How much did I tell you about Valen before you started?
I don't think he told me very much at all.
You knew he was a werewolf. OOC.
OOC, I did know he was a werewolf. I made sure that didn't bleed into any roleplay, though, to the point of ridiculousness occasionally.
You had... oh my god, Stormy.
Which one was Stormy? Sorry, I don't
she
know.
Was the witch.
You were so scary. Oh, you fucked Ayla's head, man. You
almost broke them up.
You did. Yeah. It got intense.
And then the aspects, like, and then the way that the aspects played out, the order that they came in, I think also played a big factor, because if it was the other way around, it probably would have been less impactful. But the fact that that fear came before rage, and then fear played so heavily into rage, that fucked some shit up.
But then rage became the doubt one.
Right.
Or the self-doubt or whatever it was. I can't remember the actual name of it, but that one is the one that fucked Ayla up.
Yeah, self-doubt.
Because fear, she was more afraid for Valen. She was more afraid for Valen. She was like saying he was being weird. He got taken first, so she was terrified. So she didn't know what the fuck was going on. And then rage came, and that's when she found out that Valen was a werewolf.
That's what everyone found
in the middle of town, and he attacked her, and it was really awesome.
He only tried to kill her twice.
Only twice. Everything was fine.
Just good relationship. Yeah. So I think Ayla and Valen was probably the first time we really got to flush out characters and flush out a story.
The story was so sad and so good and so.
It was intense.
Like. It was intense and it was fun.
It was definitely fun, and like you could see it going so many different ways.
It could have ended in disaster.
It could have been
easily.
Bad.
It could have gone so south. I fully expected it to go south. I
thought it would have too, just because of how stubborn she was.
I knew there was points that she was pushing him away. I was like, she's gonna push him away, like. And then the next season came around. And we thought, okay, we role played together. Let's just like make characters who already know each other. So he played a prince, and I played his assistant, quote unquote. It was the servant person.
It was, yeah.
But those two had an interesting story.
Yeah.
That could have also ended in horrible tragedy.
And a different type of tragedy, because I think that could have ended up in heartbreak instead of death.
That would have been 100% heartbreak.
Yeah.
Because I was fully intent on that character having a one-sided love for the prince and him never returning the feelings.
Yeah.
And she would have never said a word.
That got a little difficult at times to roleplay because I knew OOC what he was doing to her, but I couldn't take it into account as him because I had to like
still be the prince.
It had to go over his head, right? Like for a while.
But I mean, it was obvious to him out of character and everybody else in character who saw them together instantly knew what the fuck was going on. So it wasn't like it just he knew out of character, it's hard to roleplay it. It was more like it's extraordinarily obvious, but the prince was oblivious to it.
Completely oblivious to it. And I think it was because their statuses, right? Like
we had a whole class roleplay of insanity.
He was a prince and he could not do it. So like for him, he didn't even see it because it wasn't enough.
She knew it would never happen.
Yeah.
She knew that he was a prince and she was a nobody, so it didn't matter.
Imagine being in love with a prince that's constantly talking about other women.
And getting caught with women in his bedroom and being known for going to taverns and brothels and making lists of the girls he was interested in.
Ooh, boy.
I had a list of 5 at one point that season.
So let's talk more about like your different kind of roleplay. Do you have like a favorite story that you've had?
Like across my many years of roleplay
that you've been involved in, like favorite story, whether it's personal or like server wide.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into my GTA San Andreas character because honestly, it was all done in text. But I started from a nobody on the server, and it was actually a YouTuber sub server or like a streaming server. So he made it because he wanted to stream on it.
Okay.
And he wasn't a role player.
Oh.
And I believe he still posts to YouTube, but a lot of his fan base were younger boys.
Gotcha.
There weren't a lot of girls on the game. The girls that were there knew each other really well because we all knew who the actual girls were. And we would hang out in, I believe, TeamSpeak at the time. But I played a character named Chastity Moore. And she was actually a continuation of another character I'd played on a forum. But I brought her in kind of fresh-faced, new to the big city. And it all started when I was walking down the street and a guy pulled up and said, "Hey, need a ride?" And I sat there for a second on a character going, he's gonna kidnap me. Like, that's obvious. Like, if I get in this car, he's gonna kidnap me. Because duh. So I said yes, and I got in his car, obviously.
As one does. When you think you're going to be kidnapped.
I weighed the options, and I said, you know what, it's going to be fun. Role play is getting in his car, so let's do it. He kidnapped me. And he took me to some fucking faraway corner and proceeded to try to get me to pay him money. And that's when my second decision came in, to be a dumbass. And he demanded money, and I looked at my bank account and I went, I have that money. I'm not going to give him that money.
Oh my God. Okay.
So he's like, give me $15,000. And I'm like, I don't have $15,000. Oh no. He's like, you better have 50. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just looking at the 25,000 in my bank. I don't know what you need. Like, so what ended up happening though is I got away. Like, I escaped from him. He had me like in a corner of the map, and I ran for half an hour along the edge of the map, escaping him while he drove along a car, texting me saying he was gonna kill me. Like, oh my God. I'm literally running from this guy. And eventually I got away. And then I found out that guy was the leader of a gang. And he was pissed that I had gotten away. So he told his entire gang that instead of me not giving him money for him kidnapping me, that I stole the money from him.
Oh boy.
Thus ensued the manhunt. And eventually it culminated in me saying, fine, fuck it, I'm gonna give you the money. There was another guy kind of running off to the side, who was kind of not a part of the group, but they all were ignoring him. So I knew that they were okay with him because he was close enough that like he just wasn't participating. So I give them the money, they go away, I run across town, I'm role-playing being all shaken up and freaked out because I just did that. And the guy I saw who was there, not involved with him, pulls up next to me on the road. And I'm like, please, I gave them the money. Oh shit, please don't hurt me. And he's like, no, I want to help you. Turns out this guy was the current best gun dealer on the server. And we started this whole relationship where he was like, I'm not going to get you into this line of work. And she's like, fuck that, I'm going to help you. Because I play stubborn characters, apparently.
Yeah. Seeing a common theme.
I convinced him to teach me how to be a gun dealer. He got me all of his contacts, and I took over being the gun dealer. And nice. I became the most well-known, influential gun dealer on the server. Everybody knew that if you needed guns, you came to me because I wouldn't rip you off. I supplied for all of the gangs on the server. I had so much money that I would often buy helicopters and just abandon them because I didn't need to sell them because I didn't give a shit. I had that much money. Like, I had the best houses. And then I joined a group because after a while I got tired of being a solo gun dealer. I was like, let me find some other people to roleplay with. Mm-hmm. I found a group of role players on the server who were all in this like front of a business that was RS Hall, like a trucking company. They had their own gate seal off that it was like a special place you could go to store guns and stuff. So they were a gang, but they weren't like shoot 'em up, I live on Grove Street gang.
Right.
I became influential in them. I learned a lot. I did a whole bunch of different jobs. It was a lot of fun. And then the owner of the gang decided he was bored. And he decided, it'd be fun to do. Fuck over one person in my group who I knew could take it.
Oh boy.
So I got set up to be someone who took the fall for our group getting raided one day because my character's ex-husband decided to make a false report so he could get a better news story about it. Mm-hmm. And he set her up and said, I have this whole police report on you. You betrayed us. And I'm sitting in this little house after having just survived being attacked by my ex-husband with a friend who was with me when we got attacked, with a gunshot wound to my hand that took off her pinky, her ring, and half of her middle finger.
Jesus.
And my friend went to go see what was going on, found out we were raided, came back and said, they think you did it. They think that you turned us in. And I was like, what the fuck? No, I didn't. I have to go tell them because obviously this is a really bad thing. If I don't, they're going to think I did it. They're like, well, it's too late. They already do. I'm like, well, shit. He's like, I got to go talk to them. He's like, I can't let you do that. They'll kill you. I'm like, well, duh, I have to, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go talk to him. So he shoots her in the leg. So she can't run away and go tell them because he's concerned for her. I ended up on the run from my gang, the most influential group on the server of role players. I was hiding out in people's houses. I, at one point, was in a member of my group's house when the leader of the gang came in and was talking to him in the living room, and I was hiding behind a bed in the bedroom. I ended up becoming the mayor's secret security agent person. He was like running for mayor. He ended up making this fucking deal with the leader of my gang to get him the mayorship. Ends up into this huge firefight where it was all a front. They were using this whole thing with the mayor to suss me out, realized that it was me, and take me away in a car. But the person they got to do it was someone who was like a dad figure to my character.
Damn.
And he drives himself off a cliff in order to make it let her get away. And it was a super intense roleplay. Like, I still have the logs from it. It was that intense, and this was years and years and years ago. I eventually left that character. She ended up getting caught and killed, I think, is the end of that story. But
you like to get yourself in trouble. It's what I'm hearing.
Yes, I like to. So here's my motto. Look at the situation, figure out your options, choose the one that you think is going to cause the most problems, and take it.
Wow.
because usually that's the one that's going to give you the best roleplay. I find out that something that some people have a hard time doing is giving yourself character restriction.
Right, and I do that often, sometimes to a fault, though. Like, one of the questions that I was going to ask you was, like, do you have a favorite character, right? Like, that is a thing, but do you have a character that basically told you or showed you that you wouldn't play that type of character again, or that you wouldn't do that again? Because like I had an experience, like Manny, the guy that I'm playing now, I wouldn't say I wouldn't play him again, because he's just a good guy, and sometimes in a server full of criminals, you stand out by being different, right? But I played a character on Conan that was like just a bard, and it was like just him and his wife were just barkeeps, you know, and they tended to the tavern and blah blah blah. I don't think I would ever restrict myself to that type of character again, because it was boring.
I'd probably have to say then any characters that are overly shy or depend on somebody else being logged in order to do that, because I did that recently on the first season of Equinox, where my character was supposed to be this really shy kind of fawn character who hid away. And I had someone playing her sister who was the more upfront, like, get me into the situations, but she wasn't able to log in as much. Our group was very, like, had a town, like, our town was way off in a corner. I was really struggling to have reasons to go talk to people at that point.
Yeah.
Because our group wasn't going out to meet people. My sister wasn't logging in, and I had this character who was too shy to talk to anyone.
Yeah, so it can be rough for sure. Like, when you think about a character, you have to take these things into consideration, because you're here to roleplay at the end of the day, right? But like, you're also there to play out a character, so you try to be as true to a character as possible. So when I was Leo, the bard, he was just a bard. He was about him and his wife, and they grew up like in a farm and blah blah blah. They were making money at the tavern, but there was nothing really outside of him, like, you know, hunting for the tavern, singing, doing performances.
Yeah.
And
you found you gave yourself too many restrictions that you couldn't step out of that.
Not even like restrictions. It was more like I didn't give him enough options, I would say. Because it would have been a bit different if the person that was playing my wife at the time, if we had a lot of like internal conflict in different ways, not enough depth, exactly. We had a lot of conflicts, like he was a concerned husband. She would try to do shit that maybe she shouldn't be, right? And there were times that if we would have gotten more roleplay together, you know, like, let us have some conflict in like our relationship, right? Like you and I think did really well as Ayla and Valen.
Where it was a conflict, but it wasn't
exhausting either.
It wasn't either. It was exciting when they did get into a fight, because you didn't know how it was gonna go.
She overstepped her station a lot with nobility. Exactly, Stormy. And I think that there was a time that Leo actually called her out on that shit. And instead of that leading to more roleplay, it kind of became a bit of salt OOC, or thinking that I was like trying to restrict her from roleplay, when I was just trying to have conflict roleplay within the marriage.
That is something that if you're going to do RRP, sometimes it's really good to have communication out of character. To make sure things aren't going out of character and like kept to the story and not being taken personally. Yeah, but it's always good to have restrictions, otherwise your character just kind of becomes a weird mess of contradictory.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I am a person,
which I see happens a lot, though.
I agree. I am a person that will always put certain restrictions on my character, even if it puts me at a disadvantage, because my character would be at that disadvantage. Like, I'm not the type of person that I have to get the strongest weapons, or that I have to get the strongest armor, if my character wouldn't have that. Like, when I played Zerod, he was just a fucking half Van Ghoul in the jungle that used to use whatever the hell he found. So for most of that season, I was wearing starter gear, and I was using a longsword that I found at a chest somewhere.
Half of the time I ever have gear is because somebody else gave it to me. I'm like,
Same.
oh, thanks. I'm going to use this,
Same.
but I wasn't going to ask for it.
Same. Boxing in your character into a very tight role makes it hard to bust out. Yeah, agreed. People tend to forget they control the character. Exactly. That's true, and that's kind of where I was saying that I fault myself for like not making that one change sooner, because it's up to me. I actually would spar people too, like because it was in my character to spar, even though I knew I was at a disadvantage. Like they were like, "What are you using?" And I'm like, "Just this longsword." And they're like, "You sure you want to fight?" It's like, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what I'm wearing. I don't care what I'm using. If my character would fight, he fights.
That reminds me of a character I played once on one of the Circus servers.
Oh
I
yeah.
decided to make a comedic relief character named Alex.
Oh boy.
And I spoke like a nerd, and every time I laughed, I made sure to snort
Oh god.
excessively. And she was obsessed with plants. But
Nice.
as the season went on, she ended up getting more and more interested in all the sparring people were doing, and so I started teaching her how to fight. So this massive nerd was learning how to use a sword, which was just
Oh my god,
weird.
that's funny. I often don't make fighters because I know that I'm not a good PvPer. It is what it
I
is.
learned really quickly to become a healer in most of my roleplay servers, like characters.
I did play the Lady of Winterfell once
Oh yeah.
on SKRP.
What's your favorite kingdom
early
like to
season.
play usually?
I kind of bounced around a lot, actually. I did King's Landing, Winterfell, Highgarden, Casterly Rock. I didn't do the Vale ever.
I
Never in the
have.
Vale.
I played the Vale with Zelgos when he was king. May he rest in peace. I don't know if you ever met Zelgos.
I feel like I heard the name.
Zelgos
I think I
was
remember that.
one of the best King Starks there ever was. Like he just had the voice, the attitude. He was such a good king because he understood the kindness that it took to be a Stark, but also the aggressiveness that it took. And then he played King of the Vale once, and I took some notes from Zelgos when I was King Aaron, and being approachable by my people, but also being kind of standoffish to outsiders, and thinking that I was holier than them, you know.
Yeah.
And I regret not getting back into GOTRP when he asked. Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020 and those kind of things, you know.
For sure. Yeah, I remember that he getting off topic a little bit, but he wanted to do a song with me so badly, and we never did. I was like, "You're not even really a musician," and he's like, "But I just want to do it." But yeah, like to him, I was like his cousin. We played relatives several times. And when I was Alden Karstark, I was his cousin as well. Cousin to the king that got into a lot of shit. Cough, lady.
I feel like there's daggers being thrown.
Yeah, there is daggers towards a lady. But anyway, yeah, I think so. Like going back to that, yeah. Like listen here, oh boy, oh boy, you loved it, sir. It is good to set restrictions on your characters. It's not good to handicap yourself too much, but vulnerabilities should always be a thing, you know. Character flaws should always be a thing.
I have a fun story about character flaws. First big server I played on was a Life is Feudal server run by Jam Jar, and had people like Mr. Moon on it and a bunch of other really big streamers at the time. And I played a character who was my only character I've ever played with the name Nixie. I gave her the flaw of if you gave her a direct order, she would do it. When she fell in love with a man who was the chef of a kingdom, who decided that because a lord of another kingdom had a crush on her, that she should go with the lord instead of him because she could have a better life with the lord, she said, okay, and left.
Oh wow.
But it was
like the first time I'd given my character a really solid character flaw that was something that I knew to begin with was going to get me into shit. But I went into the character fully expecting that to get her killed, and it did. In the end of the season, I totally got murdered.
How many times have you been permit?
Oh, not as many times as you would think. Only a couple.
You would think.
I've gotten close.
I think I've been perma twice.
I got perma'd on the season that I played Nixie, and then technically Chastity also got perma'd.
Stormy's been perma'd. I was really sad about your bartender.
I am curious about.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of opinions on this subject, and I'm always curious to know what other people think.
Okay.
But what are your opinions on like how roleplay is kind of been mainstreamed, I guess you could say, and like specifically in reference to say like no pixel roleplay, and how roleplay became more mainstream because of it? Like, I have a lot of opinions on it, but
yeah, we can talk about that for sure. I appreciate exposure and growth of anything that I enjoy, right? The more people that do it, the more that it grows, the better that it can potentially be. However, with that said, the more something grows, the more that you have to weed out the bad. And it comes with issues. For example, you have like some people that are kind of streaming like NoPixel or anything. These servers that are like big when it comes to like GTA or whatever, or even like Darkside. And sometimes you get people that are just doing it to do it, or to be part of the streamers, to be part of the fun, but they don't take the RP seriously. And that's when you get a lot of people that are just playing the game, and that's when I kind of wish that it went back to being more niche, because when it's like more niche, you get more people that are taking it seriously, that are doing it for the story, that are doing it for the RP, not just fanboys and girls, not just to hang out. And unfortunately in ARC, which I've seen a lot recently, or in GTA, people just want to hang out.
Yeah, they don't have the story developing. They just make a character and they talk to each other with that character voice.
Right.
I feel like I agree with you. I feel like especially with things like specifically NoPixel, because it's not a roleplay server, even though they say it's a roleplay server, it's a streaming server.
Right.
It allows them to play GTA Online without being destroyed by hackers on GTA Online. It gives them like a structure to be on GTA without it getting boring. But with that comes people who have never experienced the kind of roleplay that you and I have experienced.
Right.
Because all they know is what they watch on stream.
Yeah.
And they come into our groups of people who know what roleplay is and know how to build stories, and they only know what they've seen, and they come with all their friends.
Yeah, and they frustrate the shit out of us.
And we're all sitting there going, damn it, they're here. I'm all about character development. That's my biggest...
Same.
When it comes to a character, I get bored if they don't change, and it always drives me nuts when you see that's something that I've
always
playing a character.
That it's just kind of the same.
There's a difference between playing a character and role playing a person.
Mm-hmm.
Because playing a character is you came up with a funny story or a background, and you have a character that you put into situations. And then you go back to base one after the situation's ended, and nothing about your character shifts because of that situation. Right. But a person roleplay is where you have a person, they get into a situation, and they come out different on the other side of that situation.
That's a very good statement. I know that I've said this to you before, but I think the RP that we had, or the ability to have internal conflict and also internal growth was something that I definitely needed when it came to like story building, and something that I feel like I was kind of lacking before with some of my RP. But it was so great to be able to sit down and have conversations that either rock the boat a little bit, or in that one conversation something came out of it that we jumped 10 steps forward. Like it was
the ones like with Ayla where we jumped 10 steps back.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what I mean.
Conversations that went both ways.
Every day it was a fucking surprise.
Really, especially Ayla and Valen, because those two, every time they had a private conversation,
how is this gonna
you
end?
never knew what direction it was gonna go in. So good. I love roleplay.
It was so good. That is,
and it's moments like that make me continue wanting to roleplay.
That's exactly what I
moments that I lost, and that's why I stopped. Like I saw Fluff said that I haven't been around for a really long time, and that's specifically because I stopped having those moments.
Funny enough, I feel like Conan saved some of those moments for me, right? And Conan has this, this stigma is the word for ERP.
Yeah, for ERP.
And a lot of people don't take Conan seriously, or they kind of they hear Conan RP and they're like, well, we know what that's about.
Oh, those are the people who roleplay naked running around. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're just over there ERPing, and like it's not true. Conan has lent itself, for me at least, to so much deeper roleplay than Arc did. Although like I had a lot of like deep Arc roleplay, especially with like Lady and Stormy. We had some really good roleplay and good characters, but there's something about the medium as well, right? Like
I feel like it has to do with the gameplay itself.
The gameplay, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Because there's something I feel, because when you have certain mechanics that are available to you, you're able to do more with it.
Right.
For example, there's just so much stuff you can do in Conan mechanically to shake things up and change things. You can change the whole world in such dramatic ways with the mods that they have, the maps that they have, and what you can do to the maps themselves. Like having those dungeons on TOO where you got sent to a creepy ass cabin in the middle of the woods where you heard people screaming and crying.
Goes a long way.
And it was so atmospheric. You could never do that on Arc.
Right.
It had the lighting, it had sounds, it just was stuff that you can't mechanically do in Arc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like that helps lend a lot to being able to roleplay. It's just mechanics.
I had some questions and then we just got to talking.
You have any extra special ones that you really wanted to hit?
No, I think we through conversation we covered mostly everything. So guys, we can probably wrap this up. You can find Nixie the Dragon on Twitch. She streams every now and then. I'm trying to stream more. I swear, the last couple weeks I had to adult. Yeah, and I've been playing Ghost of a Tale. It's super fun. She's also what server are you playing on right now? I'm playing on Equinox RP on Conan. I'm playing a character named Arazne. So go follow Nixie over on Twitch for her streams. This was fun. Thank you, Nixie, for chatting and hanging out. It was good to catch up and tell everyone about like your crazy ass characters that stress me the hell out. You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll see me next time. Peace.